What's up, sports fans? I'm Sean LaFlock of Flock Fitness. I had a question sent to me, and I thought I would do a little video to give my answer because I think it's a little easier that way. I don't have a lot of resources in my apartment here other than a pen and a piece of paper. Got Dr. D in the background here playing a little Fortnite, but I have some time. I'd love to answer this question in a more full, expansive way rather than just typing out a short answer. So the question was, I'm coaching a team or doing some fitness work for a team, a lacrosse team. And they want to know how I periodize training for athletes. So it really doesn't matter what the athlete is. You got to have a plan going in, and you got to basically break up the year into different areas. And this is something that's nothing new. This is just my explanation of it and the way that my brain works. So I break it up into about 3 to 4 sections of the year, depending upon who you are. You know, maybe there's 3, maybe there's 4, and there's no defined day or you check a box off. There's a bit of feel to it, and I'm much more of a field coach as is than a very analytical coach where it's like, okay, when they hit this metric or this day, this is when we switch over to a new block of training, whatever like that. So this is what it looks like here, and it's reversed for me. I'll go into kind of detail on each one of these areas. So basically, if you're a lacrosse player, your season is probably going to be ending in April for the most part, depending on if you make playoffs, if you make a title run, that might go expanding all the way to May. I know in college, it goes all the way through May through Memorial Day weekend. So let's say they do end up in April. From April all the way to June, the first part of this is going to be just getting your body healthy, going to see the PT, going to see any kind of therapist, decompressing, deloading, getting away from it, having fun, and enjoying your time away from sport. That being said, this is also a good time to reflect on the things that you improved upon throughout the season and to set goals based upon the areas that you need an improvement. So for instance, if you're finishing your freshman year of college and all of a sudden you are now, okay, and now I'm in the off season, I've got some experience under my belt, I kind of have enough awareness to know what I know and know what I don't know. Now I can start making some goals. So maybe that's, I want to be able to be an attackman. I want to start attack this year. I want to score 40 goals this year. So the question I always ask is, what do I need to become in order for me to be that person? So instead of going after the goal, look toward yourself and say, what do I need to become to allow that goal to be coming into my life? Another way of saying this is something from Kyle Cease, who's a transformational comedian. He says, what is trying to unfold? Like when you get silent with that, what do you need to become? Like, what do you need to step into? Rather than trying to smash into it, because you're going to find that you're going to get a lot more clarity when you say something, what do I need to become, or what is unfolding within me? What is trying to come through me as I'm asking this question? And some of that might be, hey man, I need to let go of the attachment I have toward becoming this athlete. Some of it might be, I need to actually step into the role of becoming that athlete. So a little bit of a tangent there, but I want to get you the mindset of what are the things that I think about as a coach and as a trainer and a fitness coach, strength and conditioning coach working with an athlete. And those are the things that I'll ask, because that dovetails nicely into what we're going to be talking about next, and that's the assessment phase. So the assessment is in this area is GPP. So based upon the sport, you're going to be testing certain things. I think there's pretty standard metrics for sport, especially if it's a sport like lacrosse or hockey or football. There's strength components, speed components, skill components, and those skill components are maybe broken into speed, strength, speed. So all that type of stuff is focused on this area. It's a lot less sports specific. So we got the stick out of the hand, we got the ball in the hand. Whatever you're thinking of is keep this much more foundational movement wise. One area that I really focus on as well personally, because it's a passion of mine, is posture and resetting good movement patterns. So that's what I'm doing here. So not only am I putting it through a strength assessment, I'm putting it through a speed assessment, an energy system assessment, and I'm also going to put it through a movement assessment. And those specific exercises are something that I'll highlight in another video, but just to give you an idea of what that is. So then after I assess, I take a look at all the areas that need to be improved upon and the areas that are already good, and then I build upon those things. So I say, all right, this kid he's got a 315-pound back squat, but he power cleans 205. So for me, if I look at that and I looked how the movement quality was, I know that if I improve this movement and I improve the movement itself, there's potential for that to translate into sport later on down the road. So that power clean might be under from where I want it to be. Maybe I want it up around 240, 230, 240. So that might be a goal I might set for here to know that I'm going in the right direction. So if I set a goal, we're starting here at 205, and all of a sudden after this 3 or 4 month block, we're at somewhere in the 225 to 230 range, I know that I'm doing things in the right direction as long as the movement quality is good and it's not dampering anything else within the athlete. So that's the GPP phase here. That usually goes from April to about June, July. And again, it's transient. It depends upon the athlete. If they go on a vacation for a month, shit's going to expand out a little bit. So then from like June through November, that is more skill and less GPP. So it's kind of that middle phase. We're not really in preseason yet. We're definitely not in GPP phase. We're going to be focusing on more sport skill work. So now we're starting to think about the areas that need to actually get better based upon what that athlete's goal is. So this here is like, I just want to make a better athlete. This here is I want to make a better athlete who is a lacrosse player. So that's where this focus is here. And again, that's another 3 to 4 month block depending upon the person. If this kid is also playing like summer league and stuff like that, that also has to be taken into account because you're like, well, they're going to be doing a lot of energy system training during there. They might be depleted there. And we got to also prioritize my training based upon what my athlete's goal is. And that's getting better here, not necessarily peaking during the summer. And that's also something you have to appreciate with athletes because they want to hit it hard all year round. By doing this training, you're probably going to be taking away from that a little bit, but you also have to consider how they're recovering, what kind of training they're actually going to be doing, and what kind of workload that looks like. So if you're doing like a 2-hour training session and then they're doing a practice and they're doing a summer league game, they're training for like 8 hours a day. Like I think that's more spinning my wheels. Like at this point, I don't want that. I want like 2 hours of training max in a day and then just feed and water the athlete, as my good friend James Fitzgerald will say, feed and water your athletes. So after that, that's where we get into a preseason phase. That's where we drop a lot of the GPP stuff and we focus on sports-specific things that are going to get them prepped for their season. So for instance, in the lacrosse realm, we're talking about more energy system training because now we have to get the athlete ready for basically like lactate endurance / aerobic power work, depending upon the athlete's position. So we're going to be prioritizing that because at this point in your training, a lot of the hay's in the barn. So those strength gains aren't going to be happening in the 3 months prior to training. It's more of like refining that stuff and making it best for the sport. So maybe a lot of like speed specific, explosive exercises, like ball tosses, maybe singles, doubles for the Olympic lifts. Definitely some plyometrics that are much more max effort. So we can start getting this athlete into the sense of like, okay, what can I do, and gaining confidence in that. Again, one of the biggest things that I talked about was energy system training because within the sport of lacrosse, you need to be in shape for lacrosse. Especially if you're something like a midfielder, you've got to be able to run for about 30 seconds at 90%, then move at like a 50% pace and then run another 30 seconds and then rest 2 minutes and then do it again. It depends on the type of athlete and the essence of the athlete, but also the position of the athlete. And that's something I can take into consideration as well. So you can't do a cookie cutter one size fits all for everybody, but you have a relatively good idea for a team of what like a base level of stuff might look like. And then usually like the positional work that they do will take care of those specific energy system training components that you might need. Then we get into the season. So basically the season for lacrosse is February through April, again, depending upon how far they go. During season, the things that I think about, and this is things that I've taken from a lot of different trainers and also my experience as an athlete as well, is you don't need to prove anything in the weight room at this point. It's more about restoration, feeling good, and staying sharp during this time of the year. You're not going to get stronger during the season. That's okay. If you score 45 goals in a season and you don't PR your back squat, who cares? So taking some of the weight off the bar, more speed, strength specific stuff just to stay sharp, some plyometric stuff. I definitely wouldn't be at peak effort. Definitely staying over the 80% mark in some of these efforts, but not a lot of volume. So that's going to kind of keep you in the mindset of going hard and making sure that you're actually feeling good for performance, but making sure that you're recovering properly. So that's massage, that's sleep, things like meditation, floating, being in a on-off state. And that's where one of the things that I really appreciate during this time is mindful breathing. So you practice Then you get into a breathing state where you kind of shut the nervous system down a little bit, get into a parasympathetic state, and then you're recovering again. So that is something that I would consider for during the season, along with those other types of training. Energy system training takes a back seat during this time. I would definitely do recovery sessions. So like, like Z1 work, some people call it. Other people call it cardiac output method if you're in the Joel Jamieson camp. So things that are in that 120 to 140 BPM range. And you could do that on a regular basis just to get the body flushed, the heart and back into a parasympathetic state. And also just keep a baseline aerobic work. But the practices that you're going to be doing and the performance that you're going to be doing in the games is pretty much all the energy system training that you're going to need. So just as a review, we go into a GPP phase and a testing phase right after our season. We're also assessing goals and basically where you're coming from, and then kind of doing some mindfulness pieces to let go of the need to go there and falling into the knowing of like, who do I need to become? The second phase here is more into the skill component. And then after the skill component, and again, you can reassess things throughout here just to make sure you're going in the right direction. And then we go into that preseason phase. That's where we're going to go much more peaking, getting ourselves primed for performance. And then we finally get into a season phase where we put a back seat to the training and make sure that we're in peak performance throughout the year and recovery practices become primary. Guys, if you have any questions on this, you can get me on social media. It's Flock Fitness. You can also reach me on Facebook. My name is Sean LaFlock, or you can message the Flock Fitness Facebook page. And then finally, if you need to shoot me an email, it's sean@crossfitdelraybeach.com. Guys, I love to do this stuff. I love these conversations. I love questions because I have a lot of knowledge out here. It's not very easy for a smaller coach to get their name out there and to get their words out there. So this stuff is awesome. I really appreciate it. Ask questions. Maybe I'm wrong. I would love for you to tell me what you do, and I'd love to be able to. I don't want to come up with the right answer. I want to know the right answer. So if you have better answers for me, please leave it in the comments below. I appreciate all your help, guys, and I appreciate all your questions. Till another time, I'm Sean LaFlock of Flock Fitness. Have a great day.